Good afternoon. Welcome to Fempreneur Truth Confessions podcast.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura, or Oda, if you are new here. And I am an agency owner of virtual assistants, project managers, just amazing people that are here to help small businesses, women in small businesses, and just behind the scenes get the work done and kind of do all the things. I'm not quite sure what it means. It's forever changing, especially with our clients.
Yes, it
Yes,
does. It
yes.
evolves, and I hate the buzzword pivot, but it evolves into what our clients need, what the demand is, right? And that's the really nice thing about being your own boss and having
Yeah.
your own business is you can do those things, having your own team. So Laura and I do really similar things. We each have our own special sauce, right? I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But and there are things that I love to do, like social media and digital marketing, that Laura's like, I don't want to do that. So anyway,
I really don't want
I'm
to do
Angeline.
that.
Say that again.
I said I really don't want to do that. Social media. Everyone knows I meant first the social media.
Yeah. So I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. We are heart-centered. We take a heart-centered approach to offering the project and event management to women entrepreneurs who are already out there on fire, lighting up the world with their passion and their drive. They're not just starting out necessarily, or maybe it's just not their first time at the rodeo. They might just be starting out with a new business, but they've been doing it for a while. And we help them achieve their missions in the most authentic way possible. Laura and I both have VA teams, and what you would think would be competitive, but we're not. We decided early on to do this thing called collaboration, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's
I love the
y'all. She
collaboration.
just can't get a word in edgewise with Laura this morning.
So sorry. I'm
You
so
are on
glitchy
delay.
today. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you catch up, and I realize oh crap. We're gonna have fun today, guys. This is
yeah. Usually though, on
so
this,
I might be a little bit quiet, just waiting to catch up a bit with everything. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. So Laura, gosh, we started a podcast. It's been 3 years, and we didn't even say happy anniversary to us.
No, it is.
No, we didn't. So it's 3 years this month. This month? Y'all, it is almost the end of October, and I'm still thinking September. This is crazy pants. This year has just flown.
It has.
So Laura and I started the podcast because we weren't seeing anything we could relate to. Other female entrepreneurs that were out there were all, perfect and produced and polished, and we're over here, Hot Mess Express. So, like for real, we're just trying to do all the things.
We were just saying before we came on, I'm like, it is what it is. I'm not. And every Monday, my thought always is when I get up, put something on that you're going to want to wear on the podcast and that kind of thing. And then I always grab a t-shirt, or my hair is always in a dirty bun. I've already had a morning before this,
Right.
So I'm like,
Maybe we need to move the podcast up. The reason we do it later in the day, though, is so that we can accommodate the other 3 time zones that are behind us. Me, it's 3. For you, it's just 2. Yeah. So if we started the podcast at 9, that would be 6 a.m. for people on, and that's just not trying to be accommodating. So anyway.
Well, this is authentic. By the middle of the day, we've already a lot of times lived a full work day in this moment, and other days we've been able to sip coffee and enjoy the morning, and it really just depends on the day,
Yeah.
So,
So the podcast came about so that we could basically normalize the struggles, share the lessons learned. The common goal is to lift other women up and not do any of the what Jen Kim calls pink slime. And normalize what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other, building each other up, using our gifts and our passions to fulfill our life's calling. That's even our guests are here doing that. And we felt like that's what other women need to see. That's what we need to see is that other women, yes, they struggled, but they also got through that, how they got through that, and now it's on the other side. So the goal has always been to build a community and grow a sisterhood that believes in those three pillars, right? Abundance mindset, collaboration, and helping each other rise. So that is definitely happening with the guest today. Laura?
yeah, absolutely.
Take it away.
So introduce Pat Miller. And look at this. So Pat Miller is the founder and president of Blue Diamond Construction, which specializes in commercial carpentry and metal framing. For more than 30 years, Pat has worked with general contractors, architects, engineers, and developers to design and build medical and office buildings, apartments, churches, cafes, supermarkets, and other retail stores. In 2023, she published her award winning, internationally best selling book, Kicking Karma's Ass. Love. Unbelievable stories of strength, resilience, and perseverance. As told with a twist of humor, a memoir of her personal and professional comeback after a series of devastating losses. Welcome in. I love it. Kicking
Oh my
Karma's
goodness.
Ass. Hell yes.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I feel like I'm joining a party here. I'm laughing at you when you're saying, oh, by 12 o'clock, I'm on my second life here. And I'm like, oh, I get up at 4. I'm in construction.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, is it lunchtime? And it's only 9:30.
Right,
So
right. You're about your
I
third.
totally understand. But thank you for having me, ladies. I appreciate it. It's very nice to be here with you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, and today we're going to talk about how to use karma to transform your life, and obviously based on your personal story of, how you use karma to rebuild your life. How, yeah, just dive in. Tell us how that started and what did.
Well, look, none of us can pick what happens to us in our life. So we're all products of our experiences. So we can either be the victim or we can take it and we can make something positive out of it. And you touched on it a little bit. Back in 2013, I lost my brother unexpectedly. 14, my mom died. 15, my father died. All the whole time, my husband was being treated for cancer, and he passed away in 2016. And it was within 3 years, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but sometimes your life can change in one day, and mine did. And I couldn't figure it out, but I was left to rebuild my life. I was with my husband since I was 16. That is a lifetime in itself. So it's like I had to pick up my life and go through it, and I had to figure out, and that's why I wrote the book. It's an incredibly personal story of my own journey, but I was never a personal I never put anything out there, but I truly felt that I needed to help others, right? Because it happened to me. I'm just a girl in Jersey, right? And I was like, how am I going to do this? And I had to persevere, and I had to dig deep from my personal experiences and rebuild my life because I had no choice. I talk about it in the book, how I spent my life savings. I went into debt $250,000 with high interest rate loans, nest egg, lending tree, any tree, egg. I was borrowing from everybody just to pay my husband's health insurance. It was $3,000 a month because I wanted him to be treated in New York and Philly. And, when you love somebody, you do whatever you can to see. And it's unfortunate that I got picked of having to experience that. But, it is what it is. I had to transform my experiences and rebuild my life at 52. And it was scary. Look, transformation isn't scary. It's the circumstances that are scary. It's all new. We're all so comfortable going through life, just, doing the motions, going through the motions. But, I always say when I'm on podcasts, are you ready for something like that to happen to you? I would never wish it on my worst enemy, but I wasn't ready. I had coffee with my husband. He kissed me goodbye and he called me at 9 o'clock and told me he was peeing blood. I wasn't ready for that, but it happened and I had to deal with it. And it was just part of my life journey that I was supposed to, and I always tell people I don't like anybody to be sorry for me, because sorrow is too closely related to pity. And that's pretty deep if you think about it. I don't want anybody to pity me.
Right.
Poor you, poor me. No, I'm a strong woman, and I told my husband that before he passed away. He's crying. Nobody should ever feel bad that they're dying. He was crying that I screwed your life up, this, that, we should be traveling, and nobody asked to get cancer,
Right.
and I told him, don't you worry about me. I'm a smart girl. I'll figure out a way to make money. And I did. And, maybe that was my guidance for me to push hard, dig deep, persevere, and phoenix out of those ashes, man, because life really burnt me. It really did. But I refuse to be a victim. I want to show other people, other entrepreneurs, that your career can go on hold for a little bit. Because I took 2 years off and we were doing very well at the time. Me and my husband, we finally got to the point in our business that we were able to do some traveling a little here and there. And we were kind of, we were at a good point. And then the rug got pulled. So, it's karma. What I experienced is my karma, right? I don't like to say, and that's why I call my book Kicking Karma's Ass, because when I was writing the book, my publisher said, well, what do you want to call this book? It's just it's just unbelievable journey, because it starts out from where I came from, and it tells a good story, and I learned going through my experiences that when everything happens and you sit down and you realize everything happened for a reason and clarity kicks in, you realize that things that happened to you when you were a kid, when you're a teenager, your 20s, you pull from those experiences. Mm-hmm. And, that's how, you say dive right in. That's exactly how I had to rebuild my life. I had to dive right in because nobody was going to be there to help me. I was all alone. I always talk about it. It's kind of like trying to sit on a chair with a leg missing, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in business together with your spouse and it was 30 years together, it's not easy. But I dug deep. I persevered. I did a lot of reading, a lot of meditation. I became very spiritual. And that's what was right for me. Not everybody has the same calling, right? So right. Yeah. I was able to pull from those experiences and figure out why all that happened to me, right? So
I love the way you had said about transformation isn't hard. It's the circumstances that are hard. And right. So, and really that is it. It's how we respond to the circumstances. That's where the transformation is sitting there waiting for, okay, you can transform one way or another. It can be persevere, or it can be bitterness, right? So what do you think? And I know I can only speak from personal experience and what I've maybe observed in other people's lives like you, but what do you think what's the difference? Why do some people get bitter and some people persevere and move on in a positive way?
Well, I think we're going back to the mindset of being a victim. It's very easy to be a victim.
It's the path of least resistance, right?
Right. That's what I say. I had to go to my job site the day after my husband's funeral. Not by choice. And I always say I could have laid in that bed after what I've been through, because I was taking care of my parents, going to treatments, and everybody wound up dying on me, and I'm like standing there like, oh my God. But I could have laid in bed easy, pulled the covers over my head for probably about a year. It would have been the easiest way to get through it, right? Give myself a little bit of time. But I talk about the situation in my book on why I had to go to work the next day. And it was all because of a super who did not like me. He called me up when my husband was on hospice. I'll touch on it a little bit, but he was like, you have to be on site by next Thursday or we're pulling your contract. Now, when you're not working and you don't have any money for 2 years and you're in debt, I started going back to work. My husband's like, you got to get back to work. So we bid a job in the hospital bed, right? So I got the job, took it for quite a bit less, but I needed the cash flow. You needed the cash flow because he was terminal at the time. And, but that guy was such an asshole. And I say it all the time because he forced me to get out of bed the day after my husband's funeral. He said, if you're not here by next Thursday, we're pulling the contract. Corporate America doesn't care that your husband has cancer. And I'm like, how cold can somebody be, right? Nobody cares. You know what? I found out nobody does care. People love you, but at the end of the day, you're going to be alone, right?
Yeah.
When everything calms down, everybody goes home, and the funeral's over, you're going to be alone, and you have to figure it out yourself. But that man forced me to get out of bed the day after my husband's funeral, because I swear my husband heard that conversation. He was sedated, and he died the next day. So I waked him on Tuesday, buried him on Wednesday, and I had until Thursday to show up. Now, talk about not knowing how strong you are until being strong is your only option. I had no option. So maybe that's the difference in the mindset of why some people become bitter. I was in survival mode.
Yeah.
I had to survive. So when you have survival, it's kind of like going out, like our ancestors, they had to go out and hunt for their food, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a similar analogy. I had to go out.
I think similarly to that, kind of in the same way, like my husband and I kind of have a little inside joke where when things start to go a little wrong or something happens, like our first house we bought together, 11 days later we had a fire. And it's one of those things that in that second it was, why? For a second you get that moment of why did this just happen? And then it's the remembrance of, okay, well, I may have asked a question in meditation, or I may have said something in a prayer. Things don't always come the way we plan.
Yeah.
Things started to become like a little bit of a joke. Like, oh, look, the storm before the blessing. Our house was remodeled after that. That was a great blessing. Terrible way to have it done. But when we kind of went back, and every so often it's like the look at each other like, is this your karma or mine? Because we understand now this is going to be a shared experience. But it's like, who did this that's creating this? And I love that we play with it now. Like it doesn't hit quite so hard because we are more in acceptance of the fact that there is a give and take there. And I am a firm believer in don't ask a question in any form that you're not prepared for the answer, because the answer never comes in some pretty little package with a bow.
Right. It comes with this is what's required of you to move into that.
And that's what happened to me. Like I said earlier, I went introspectively. I said there has got to be a reason why this horrible stuff happened to me. And when my publisher said to me, what do you want to call it? She goes, well, people think that it's your karma. You had past life karma that you had to pay off. And that's what I said. It came out in a conversation. I said, well, if that's my karma, I'm going to kick its ass, because I refuse to be a victim of something that I had, that may or may not, we don't know, happened in a previous life or for something we did. We don't know, right? If you look at it with clarity and you really go introspectively, Laura's right. It's somebody's karma, right? My husband just had a higher calling. He had to go do something else. right? We just got so used to being together here on this earthly plane that it was devastating, right? For me, that's what I told him. It's going to be a lot easier for you to leave me in death than it's going to be for me to live without you.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, that's pretty deep, because it's harder on the living than it is on, because I know for a fact, because I told him before he passed, and it's very, we're getting into the spiritual side of, my business and my person. I told him, a couple things. It's nice to talk to people that you love before they pass and leave you.
Yeah.
And I told him a couple things. Number one, ask the Lord to stop putting assholes in my life, because I have a lot. And he goes, okay, babe, I'll tell him.
Yeah. While you're up there,
Fine, like this is your last asshole that you do it, right?
Please tell God to stop putting assholes in my life. But they're still in my life, so maybe he didn't. Maybe that's my karma, is assholes. But I told him, we talked, and I was like, you do what you got to do. Again, nobody should feel bad that they're sick. But I often talk about how my husband's death allowed me to become the woman I was destined to be. And I would never be in the situation I'm in right now and be able to rebuild my life. And I built it 3-4 times bigger than the company was when he was alive. And I know he's proud of me. But I would have never have done that if he was still on this, because he was the face of the company. I'm a woman in a man's world. I built commercial buildings. So my husband was always the face. He was out in the field. He was playing golf. He was hanging out with the guys, getting the back slap. I was in the back. I was in the office. I was paying the bills. I was negotiating, costs and awarding bids and doing all the necessary evil, right? But that was mine. And I often compare it to, as he faded into the back and he left me, he pushed me forward. And that's how I like to. And then when I was going through all the deep dive, I said, there's got to be a reason, like I said. And I was like, I got to take this, man. I got to take it and run with it. I have to prove something. I have to help people that are going through it, because I am blessed being a strong person. I grew up very poor, one of 7 kids with very little means. So, just finding food in the house was, survival, right? So I pulled from my childhood and how I was raised. And I said, I got to do this again. I have to survive. I have to figure out how to do this. And it was a challenge to me. And I said, everyone, oh, she's never going to be able to run that company without him. She'll never do it. And I was like, yeah, you watch. Okay. You watch. Right.
yeah,
Stronger than a woman just challenged, especially in that moment. Like, you're in a man's world too, and that challenge comes through. It's like, ooh, yeah. And depending on the personality, like, where are you going to go with it?
Yeah, and I think
karma's not always bad. Like, you're seeing the other side of that. Like, you walk.
No, karma's not always bad. There's good karma. It happens to you every day. Walk in my shoes for those 3 years. You're going to find a lot of good karma in your life, but that's just what I had to go through. That was what I was destined to experience in this lifetime. And I truly believe that. And people used to say, I can't believe it. How do you do this? And I'm like, look, it's my turn to carry the cross. Everybody's going to have bad times in their life. Mine happened to come in a compressed, span of 3 years. It's just, we're all going to have good and bad in our lifetime.
Well, the lesson will keep coming until we learn it.
That's right.
It will keep coming up, and it will come up and look different, but it's the same lesson. Until we learn it, that shit will it'll keep coming up. That's what happened to me. That was my experience, was that, I kept, because I had a similar, experience in a very short period of time, lots of trauma, deaths, divorces, marriages, babies, unscheduled, unplanned pregnancies, all happening in a very short amount of time. Having to move, going through divorce, going through COVID. I mean,
just kept hitting you, right?
yes. And then my brother died. My youngest brother died. Then my middle brother died. And
Oh boy.
then I had to move. And um, yeah, yeah. And,
Yeah.
one of the things that has come up for me, and I've been on this healing journey since, well, I'd say I started, but I fell off the wagon, so to speak, um, after my first divorce. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on myself. And I was on my own for quite a while. Um, but then I never wanted to get married again. But I met someone who was very old fashioned and wanted to get married. So I was like, fine, whatever, just to get him to like stop mentioning it, right? Kind of thing. And obviously, if I didn't love him, I wouldn't have married him, right? I say that, but that's the bottom line. Um, and during that time, he provided. It was 10 years. We were married for 10 years. So much stability for me and my daughters, that it allowed me to grow, um, spiritually and emotionally, and heal from the first uh, domestic abuse situation, my first husband.
Oh
For
boy.
15 years, and had two daughters. Then I remarried. So a couple 3 years later, no, it was like 6 or 7 years later. Um, and uh, we were together for 10 years. And I was like, this isn't, or I asked him one day, are you happy? And he said, well, I'm not unhappy. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the right answer.
No.
Right. So, and, he didn't want the divorce. He did it. And I think what finally convinced him was, I was like, somebody is out there looking for you and they can't find you because you're stuck to me.
Wow. That's selfless of you.
No, it wasn't. It was selfish and selfless. I think it was a little bit of
Yeah,
both.
but you were telling them.
But I truly felt that was the truth, that there really was someone out there that was such a good like fit for him, that would love him so much, like perfectly, a perfect fit, right? That perfect love, that illusion or conditioning or whatever we're sold as girls, right?
Yeah.
And never thought I would get married again. And then I ended up with another, abusive jerk, who was even more toxic than the first one. But my numbers are going down. I went from 15 to 10. And then the third one, I was only married for 5 years before I said, okay, I'm done. That was when I really, really focused on my healing, went back to therapy, worked with a trauma coach, worked with a personal trainer, worked on my business. I was on track for 6 figures. I was doing all the things that I thought I should be doing to be the person I was supposed to be, right?
Right.
Before I agreed to join with someone that did nothing but tear me down every day. 5 years of gaslighting and emotional.
Well, you're putting that energy out, girl.
Yeah.
You're getting the same type of people back.
Right. And
well,
so
people can't figure it out. Some girls come to me like, I keep meeting the same kind of guy. I go, stop putting that energy out.
Yeah.
You're putting that, you get back what you put out.
Exactly.
You're putting that energy out. You're putting that victim, that energy.
Yes.
You have to change your energy and become centered and be balanced, and then put out a different energy. You get back what you put out, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So the energy is real, man. It's it really is. We're all made up of energy, and that's like karma, right? You don't always get bad karma. You're responsible for your own karma. So if you put positive out, you're going to get positive back. Don't always be a victim. If you keep saying, oh my God, like this, that, negative, you're going to draw that negative right back to you.
And that's exactly what happened.
Vibration. Right.
Yeah.
You're in a low vibration. You were in a low vibration. You were a victim. It was a horrible experience, I'm sure. But that knocked you down so low. You didn't get a chance to build yourself back up to attract somebody differently. I'm not a doctor. I just could speak from my own experiences. Right.
And that was my experience. Right. Over like the last 3 years was, and this still comes up. this, when things come up that aggravate me or piss me off, now I know, oh, where's the lesson in this? What is
Right.
this trying to teach me? Why am I upset about this? Why is this little, seemingly small thing bothering me so much? What do
Triggers.
I need
Yep.
to work on?
Yeah, those are your triggers.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
getting
they're there
triggered.
to.
You didn't learn. You didn't learn, so you're triggered over and over. Hence the reason why there's still assholes in my life. I work with them all the time. I'm like, oh God, another asshole. Why I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? But
Um,
when I was in my, introspective, I could have easily been a victim, like I said. But I read a lot about I read Wayne Dyer, he's a great guy, right? And he stuck with me. His phrase stuck with me. How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. And I love that because you could get treated really bad, but it's how you react to that becomes your karma. So you can turn a negative into a positive
yeah.
just by how you react to that, right?
Yeah.
Look, we're all human. I go wacky sometimes. Like I said, I work with men all day, and it's just had a recent experience. It's like, you get to a point, and it's like you start yelling, and it's like, okay, all right, all of a sudden she's a bitch, right?
Yeah.
So, I talked to one of my clients the other day, and I'm like, oh, this plumber thinks I'm a bitch. He says, no, you're just making them accountable. I said, honey, this is my 32nd year in construction. And when a woman holds somebody accountable, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
When a man does it, he's a good businessman.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the world we live in. It's not going to change in my lifetime. And if I dwell on it, it becomes a negative. Right?
Yep.
So I always say, as long as I'm going one place, and that's to the bank. Right? So you can call me anything you want. I've been called worse by better. I've been called worse names by more wealthier, higher people. I don't care. I'm out to make a living. I always say it's nice to make friends along the way, and I've made hundreds of friends along the way. But at the end of the day, it's a job. We're there to make money and to survive and make ends meet.
Yeah.
So you can't take things personal. You can't be too emotional, especially on my end of it,
Mm-hmm.
because then she's the emotional bitch, right? In the corner crying. I don't do that. It's like, it is what it is. You don't like me, that's your problem. Now,
Right.
we got a building to build. What do we have to do? People's like, oh, I don't like this guy. And I'm like, I work with people I don't like every single day. You don't have to like them. You have to coexist with them, and you have a job to do. That's called being professional. You have to work with these people. Like I said, sometimes I do have Italian Irish temper. It goes off the rails a little bit, but you can only take so much. We're all human, and you just try to do the right thing. And it is what it is. I rebuilt. I got a good place where I am. People know who I am. I'm known for my quality. I get the job done. I'm very efficient. So I talk about it. I'm going to start a new podcast about helping people with becoming an entrepreneur. And I think that's my way of giving back.
Is that the From Underdog to Entrepreneur?
Yes. Yes. We're getting ready to launch that in a couple weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm proud of that. Like people say, what are you doing? Like, everybody thinks that you do things only for money. And it's not about that. It's about checking boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
My kids even say, Mom, what are you doing? I'm like, look, if the least of it is you're going to see me on the internet for the rest of your life, you're going to always see me, right? Because I'm on all kinds of podcasts. I'm doing my own thing. But, I think it's important. You learn to balance yourself and become centered. And you know that there's certain things you're supposed to do. God puts people in your life for a reason. Sometimes a season, sometimes a lifetime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people are boosters. They're supposed to boost you up for a short period of time and move on. but everything happens for a reason. People are in your life for a reason, and I'm just checking boxes. So I like to put my all into things, whether typically they are successful, but even if it's not, I don't really care. As long as I can help one person. When I wrote my book, she said to me, well, what's your goal? I go, if I can help one person, my book is a success.
Yeah.
And I've helped thousands based on feedback. So I'm proud of that. I accomplished what I set out to do. And now I'm moving on to the next thing. And I hope that I help people with having entrepreneurs as guests on my show, share their experiences, how they started from nothing and how they grew and their tricks and tools and advice. And if it helps people, that's great, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, I made my way, and I tell everybody, nobody gave me a seat at the table. I made my own seat.
I made your own fucking table, girlfriend.
That's right. I got in there and I pushed them out of the way and I said, sat down. I tell a story in my book. It's a pretty funny story. Kickoff meeting on a large job. One woman, 41 men.
Wow.
Talk about intimidating, right?
Yeah.
Some guys knew me, some guys didn't. And they like to push the envelope a little bit, talk down to me. And I just whipped it out, man. A lot of colorful words to that guy. But you could read it in my book. It didn't go well for him.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm super excited about your podcast. Be sure to keep us in the loop on that so we can help promote that for you. And sure. You have also made a generous offer for our listeners for your book. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to offer my book to my Kicking Karma's Ass on Amazon for 99 cents. What are you getting for 99 cents? You can't even buy gum for 99 cents.
Right.
So yeah, you just go on Amazon. It's going to be 99 cents for the next 2 weeks. Just my way of giving back. I think it's a good read. I made it quick, under 200 pages. Everybody's busy. I understand that. I think you'll enjoy it. Most people that feedback I get, once they pick it up, they can't put it down. It tells everything has meaning. My book has meaning. The feather has a meaning, just like the wings have meaning behind me. Like I said, I got to talk to my husband. I told him to send me white feathers. And I consider him my angel. He guides me. And when you find yourself stressed, you pull from that, you talk to them. And I talk to them all the time. It's incredible. The things that I've experienced, and some people tell me I'm crazy. Okay. I know it's true, right? Yeah. When I can't figure out something, how to bid it, I put my husband's glasses on and I'm like, come on, you got to help me. Help me figure out how to bid this job. How do I put it together? And it becomes very clear. It could be a mindset that you put yourself in, or he could be with me spiritually, which I tend to like to think. Mm-hmm. But, he helps me on another realm, get through life here until we meet again, right? It goes so fast. Life goes fast.
It does.
Yeah, he's gone. My husband passed in 2016. So it's 9 years this year. Feels like yesterday.
Mm-hmm. My mom passed in 2006. And yeah, so now it's been almost 20 years.
Wow.
It still doesn't feel like 20 years,
your mind plays tricks on you, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you think, you wait for a call and you're like, oh God, that's not going to happen. I forgot. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then, or you put it in your mindset that, they're at work or they're on vacation. Right. And we'll all see each other after vacation. It's just a way of dealing.
Yeah,
I have so much. I have so much going on in my life. Being busy is good, but it still has to come out, right? You can't push it down too deep where it becomes a problem. And usually grief comes out at night, and that's any kind of grief. You experience grief with losing your two marriages. That's grief. Yeah. Anything you lose in your life is grief. Whether most people relate grief to only death. But it was a death of a relationship, wasn't it?
Especially the last one. Because It was what I thought it was like, this is my forever. And
Right.
and then to find out it was all just a big fat lie. It's
Yeah,
crushing
yeah.
because you
That's
have to
not good.
grieve what you expected your future to be like with that person, and then to find out that person isn't even real.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Well, I
pretty
talk
harsh.
about that in my book. My boyfriend, I call him, well, I gave him a name in the book, Richard, because he's a dick, right? So that's not his real name, but you learn from it.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
have this bad positive, it's a double-edged sword. Bad habit, good habit of trying to pull positive out of people. But sometimes you can't polish a
Oh,
turd, right?
right.
You can't you can't fix everybody. I was a fixer, not
Mhm.
anymore.
Same.
I'm not a fixer anymore. And maybe that's why you went through what you went through, because you're not concentrating on yourself. And in my situation, I had to figure it out by myself. So I couldn't be a fixer at the time. I had to fix myself,
Yeah,
right?
you were a fixer, but then that's what I learned is that all the love that I was putting into that relationship, mm, I just learned to put it into myself.
That's right.
And I was like, well, I need to love myself just as much as I loved that other person or idea of that person. Right.
I agree.
And once I did that, and it's been 4 years, um, I still find things that trigger me. I still find things that challenge me to be a better person, um, and to be a better partner, be a better friend, even.
I
Um,
agree. Well, that's
so,
a wound, right?
yeah,
So you have a wound, it healed over the top, but it's still deep. Hasn't healed from the bottom up. So, you're still going through triggers from those experiences, which is not a bad thing if you think about it,
no.
because it's teaching you to be a better person.
Mhm.
And I've changed over the years. I used to be a total flailing nut job, right? When I first started my company with my husband in my 20s, I used to go on the job, taking a nut job, right? It's like, this is not going to get me anywhere but in an early grave. I can't keep doing this. People don't care about your business like you do.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
couldn't understand that in the very beginning. I'm
Mhm.
like, what is wrong with everybody? Like, why are they taking 20 minutes to go to the bathroom? And we were union at the time. It used to be like, it cost me $1 a minute for you to go to the bathroom, you know? And it used to make me crazy, but you gotta balance, man. You can't let stuff get to you. And I still have that nowadays. And
Yeah.
I always talk about how I use my filing cabinet method. It's funny, Angelique. It's like I use my mind as a filing cabinet. And I say, I got all this stuff in the filing cabinet. I can't open all the drawers at once because it'll tip over. So I kind of put in
That's a
front.
good analogy.
Right, because it's how I got through rebuilding my life, because I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh God, I got to network. I got to call people. I got to get the invitations to bid. And then I got to bid it. And then I got to come in and then I got to negotiate it. And I can't lose money. And it was so overwhelming. And then my husband told me before he died, he goes, I want you to pay everybody back. And I'm going to send you so much work from heaven. And he did. God love him. He did. He sent me a lot of work and I rebuilt. And I'm writing checks out for $50 to people who gave me money to buy food, right? Because he told me to pay everybody back every penny. I don't care if it's $1. So I was like, I'm overwhelmed. And then I was like, all right, I got to do this. I got to look at my mind as filing cabinet.
Yep.
The first drawer is what I got to
Compartmentalize.
deal with now, right? Open that drawer, be the professional, close the drawer. Then at night, the grieving drawer gets open, right? And you have to grieve.
Yeah.
It's part of the natural healing
That's the
process.
process, right?
And people would say, how do you do this? You just she's cold, right? She's not grieving. Yeah, I grieved. I cried enough, please. But what is that going to get me? I have to go back to work and be professional. I talk about it all the time. I work with men. A lot of these guys have screaming babies at home and they got their own problems. They don't want to come to work and have me as a problem. Right?
Yeah.
And that goes in any industry. In my particular case, I work with men. 99.9% are men. And I wish women would get in my industry a little more. And I'm hoping to change that as well. But it's all part of the filing cabinet method. I call it the Pat Miller's filing cabinet method.
I
You
like
got to
it.
open each drawer and deal with life like
Yeah.
it's a drawer in a filing cabinet. But don't open all of them at once, man, because it's going to flip over.
Yeah.
It's gonna overwhelm you, and it's not gonna be good. So in little pieces, take life in small increments, and do the best you can. You will. Like I said, I made myself my own seat at the table. No
Yes.
DEI. I didn't depend on any kind of handouts, federal DEI this. I did it myself, and I did it with integrity, and authenticity and honesty, because nobody's used to that anymore.
Right.
So
Yes.
when I'm in their face, they know exactly what they're going to get from me
Mhm.
because
That's
I am
awesome.
me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So
And that,
people
that's
respect that.
the special sauce. That's,
Right.
What makes the difference. That if people ask, well, what's the difference? What makes your company stick out? And it's you. It's how you do the thing. But if you're not being your real true self, then that's why you're struggling, because
Right.
you're not
I was
being
told that actually by a very, very wealthy corporate owner of a company I work for. And he said, you're missing the whole point. Doesn't matter the service that you offer. There's 1,000 people standing behind you. And I'm looking at him and he's like, they want to do business with you. That's the difference. And when you learn that, that's when you become successful. You sell yourself first. And if you don't have confidence in yourself and you don't have confidence in your knowledge, you're not going to be able to sell anything, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like yourself or know yourself or have confidence in yourself, who's going to give you money? Especially in my industry, right? Talking 6 figures, average contract 6, sometimes 7 figures. It's a lot of money to put on a woman in the commercial construction industry,
Right.
especially when they don't know me, right?
Yeah, like it feels like you're betting on the like you said, the underdog
Yeah,
kind of thing.
my underdog, because look, underdogs do tend to stick together, and that's why main reason why I called my podcast what I did is because underdogs are underestimated, and I've been so underestimated in my
Yeah.
career. They're usually counted out, but I use that, like you said, using karma, you rebuild your life. I use that as an advantage.
A
Right?
fuel, right?
They didn't expect anything from me. When you don't have any expectations, you could really drive it home, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Or the expectations are low.
Right. And then it's like,
because she's a woman, she couldn't
right.
possibly.
Like in that job I told you, I was one of 41. They gave me one scope. They didn't know me. The architect referred me. I knew him. They gave me one scope. We're going to give you the framing. Let's see how you do.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh shit, this chick knows what she's doing. Let's give her
Good
the
deal.
drywall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then let's give her the ceilings. Let's give her the insulation. Let's give her the fire spray. Let's give her the millwork. Let's give her they gave me everything. And my little contract went to almost $4 million. So I tell everybody, and when I do my own podcast, don't worry about how small the job is, because you never know how big it's going to get.
Right. Exactly. I do a lot of mentoring.
Right.
I have interns inside my company, and that's one of the things that that really matters, is that you have this ability to learn, that you listen, that you show up on time, prepared. Those are the things I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to be an expert in all the things. what's your work ethic? That's what matters. If you have the ability to learn, you're in,
Right.
and you show up and you're consistent and all the things that's what they look at,
Yeah,
Here's
it's true.
here's
That's
a
why
little
I
bit.
excel.
Yep.
Because most
Well,
of my clients say, Pat, you always answer your phone. You're so reactive to our needs.
yep, you're
That
present.
makes me different than the guy that had the contract who didn't answer the phone, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that guy didn't get the next contract. I did.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Well,
anyway, that's my story compressed.
yes, but I tell you, I can't wait to get the book. Thank you again
you.
for the offer on that. And thank you so much for being with us today and spending this time. We've been together now. It's already an hour. It just flew by.
Time flies, right? We lost your girl, Laura.
Yeah, that happens. It happens. So one of the things we'd like to do on this podcast, if you've never tuned in and this is your first one, we like to have the current guest introduce next week's guest. So it's always optional, but Pat has agreed to do that. Next week's guest is Julia Brooks.
Yeah, she sounds interesting as well. I'm going to tune in. So Julia Brooks is a sales coach, speaker, creator of the Nice Girl Sales Method. Love it. Trademark. Good girl. A heart-centered approach that helps women confidently sell high-ticket offers without losing their authenticity. See what I'm talking about? Yep. With over a decade of leading sales teams and wow, good for her in revenue. Julia empowers women to embrace kindness as their greatest strength in business. Her mission is simple: to show that genuine, confident conversation can be the key to both impact and income. Love it.
Yeah,
I agree with her. Love her.
Yes.
I'm going to tune in for that.
Awesome. Wonderful. So our announcement is just another reminder that we are looking for beta testers for our membership. Please go out to the website, click on community and check it out, ftcpodcast.com. And we will see you guys next week. We're here every Monday live at 12 Eastern. And
Love
next
it.
week we will be here with Julia Brooks. Everyone have a wonderful week. Pat, thank you again for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.